What's up, guys? This is Malik, the JavaScript wizard, and today we are going to be going over arrays. So, what are arrays? Arrays are basically a container of a lot of different information. It can be any size, pretty much, and you can store all of that information inside of one variable, which is pretty cool. And if you want to get a particular element from that array, we use square brackets. Oops, sorry. We use square brackets, and then we put a number in here. So if you want to get the first element, we put 0. And the reason why we put 0 is because arrays are indexed are 0 indexed. And what that means is the starting count is 0. So 1 is going to be 0, 2 is going to be 1, and let's see what that means. Let's actually just see it in action. So we get 1. And the reason why we get 1 is because the index of the array at 1 is going to be 0, because that's the starting count. So if we wanted to count all of the numbers in here, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the value of that array is 0. That's just where the numbers started. Like, that's what the count was. So let's say I put, Malik here, and a good thing about JavaScript is you can put any type of data inside of just one different array. So you don't have to just put numbers inside one and a string. It's like you can put anything inside of it. So now if I put Malik in here, now let's get the first element inside of the array. So now we get Malik because Malik is the first element. And then if we do 1, it's going to go to the next one. Then it's going to get 1. And so it starts at 0. And I know when you first start learning JavaScript, that can be confusing. And that's with every programming language. I think almost every programming language, when using arrays, the index is 0 for the most part. But yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way they made computers and programming languages. I don't know, but you'll get used to it. But it's very convenient, And another good handy tool to use with arrays or loops. And a for loop is one of the most popular ones because it's kind of easy to write, and it's very fast. It's one of the fastest loops, which means that you can loop through elements. You can loop through arrays that have, like, let's say the array has 500 elements. You can loop through all 500 of those elements at lightning speed. So that's pretty convenient. So right now, when we go inside of the for loop, so when we write it, we write for, we write parentheses, and then we write the curly braces, and the curly braces is where the conditions and everything are going to be. So right now we do I equals 0, and again, arrays are indexed at 0. So if you want to loop through the whole array, you want to start at 0. You want to start at the first element if you want to loop through the whole array. So we do I equals 0, and if I is less, and if I is less than numbers.length, and numbers.length, just put a space here to make it cleaner, and numbers.length is going to be the amount of whatever inside of the array. So if you have strings, if you have numbers, like whatever is inside of the array is gonna pretty much be the amount of everything. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's gonna be 9. So let me just log that out just so you can see what that actually is. Console.log numbers.length. So it's going to be 9. But you have 9 elements inside there. So you see. So it adds everything up and it sees how many elements are inside there. So it's pretty cool. And then we write the incrementer, just I plus plus. So what that means is after it's done going from here, go to the next one, and then go to the next one, and just keep going all the way until the whole thing's finished. And we can go inside of the curly braces, and we can see what's can get all of the information inside by doing numbers square bracket I. So let's clear this and let's see what happens. Bam. So you see at lightning speed, it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And a console dialog will spit out here all of the numbers that were inside this array. And that's pretty cool. And a lot of things that you see inside of an array, a large time, if you're working with arrays, you're going to use conditions like, if statements, to, filter out what you might want if certain conditions are met. So you're going to do the if, and then you're going to do the, parentheses, and then you're also going to do the curly braces again. And let's just say if, I don't know, numbers I is less than 3, or it's greater than 3, I'm sorry. Let's get those numbers. Okay, so in this condition, inside of this loop, so it's going to loop over this whole array, and it's going to say, hey, if whatever number I'm on, or whatever element I'm on, is greater than 3, then we're going to console log it out and see what it is. So let's see that in action. So we get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we see it loop through the whole thing and it checked. And it does it. That's why I said it does it at lightning speed, because it went through and checked. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3 going to meet the condition. And then it doesn't, so it doesn't log those, and then it logs 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we can also switch this, and you will see it does just the opposite. So 3 is greater than the number, then we're going to get 1 and 2. So for loops are very convenient because they are very fast, and you can write a lot of different conditions inside of the for loop, and it executes it at lightning speed. So that is a very, very convenient thing about using for loops, and they're pretty simple to write. Once you get over that zero index stuff, you will understand. And another cool tool that you can use is the splice method. So let's say we wanted to change a value inside, of the numbers, or let's say we wanted to, see what a value is and change it. So we can also go inside here. And actually, let's just go into what splice is before I write it. Let me just console log this stuff out. So splice is a JavaScript array method that allows you to manipulate the array right on the spot, and either remove or add elements. So the first parameter inside of the splice is going to be where you want to start at. So again, JavaScript is index 0, so we're going to say 0, then we're going to say 1. So right now we're saying start at the first element and remove only 1. So right now we're basically removing the first element. So now let's console.log the array to see what it is. So now I remove the first element, and now you see 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say over here if I changed it to 2. So now it's going to remove 2 elements. You see 3, 4, 5. So, and even here, like let's say we wanted it to start at 1, which is going to start at 2 technically. I know that's confusing. And sometimes it still confuses me. Like I've been writing code since sometimes you got to think, oh, it starts it. But, that's just the way it is. So now this is going to start here, and it's going to manipulate it. Bam. So it didn't manipulate and take out 1. It went to 2, and then it took out 2 elements. So splice is a very, very handy way of adding or taking out stuff from, an array. Let's get back to the for loop. And sometimes you have to be careful with using splice inside of a for loop, but you can if you want to loop through an array, and let's say you want to take something out, you know, if you want to loop through an array or you want to add something in there. So let's see how to do that. Okay, let's remove this. And let's say if, let's just do something pretty simple. Let's just say if I, oops, equals, let's just say equals 3, strict equals 3, let's remove it. So we're going to do numbers dot splice. Now, we're going to do numbers, oh, do I. Let's see. So here, I just wrote this. So if we want to remove, like let's say, for example, we want to loop through this whole array, and we want to just remove anything that's equal to 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if the numbers I equals to 3, then just take it out. So go through I, which is going to be the index, and then just take out one element. And then let's console.log it out. So now, because splice manipulates the original element, now when we console.log numbers, 3 should be removed. And let's see. And exactly. So we see 1, 2, and then it took out 3. Then we see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So splice is very, very convenient if you want to add or take something out. You know, you can also add something in splice, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to do it in this loop. Just do it outside the loop. So let's say numbers dot splice, and again, we're going to use the index to see where we want to start. You know, so like let's say I want to add something to the first element. So we're going to do 0, and because we're not removing anything, you know, the second parameter is going to be what you're removing, and then the third parameter is going to be what you're adding. So like let's just say I want to add Malik. And now let's do it. So we're going to see now Malik is going to be the first. And I know splice sometimes can be confusing, but yeah, that's the order. The first parameter is going to be where you're going to start at. The second parameter is going to be what you're going to remove. So if you're not removing anything, you could just put a 0 there. And the third parameter is optional. Obviously, it's going to be what you're going to add. So you know, if you don't put anything here, then it's not going to add anything. And that is pretty much it on this video. So there we got arrays, how to access different elements inside of the arrays, how to loop through an array, and also how to add and take stuff out of the array if you need it. So these are going to be very, very convenient methods. No matter how far in coding you get, no matter how advanced you get, you're going to always come back to a for loop eventually. You're going to always use arrays for something, and you're definitely going to use the splice method. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next video.